discretion is advised.
What's the most screwed up thing you did in a sleepover? In the mid-late 90s, my brother got really into the anarchist's cookbook and learned how to tap into neighbors' landlines from a box on the pole using a touch-tone phone and some connectors from Radio Shack. We'd have friends sleep over, we are close in age, and we'd sneak out and he'd hook a phone up so we could call phone sex lines from outside a neighbor's house in the bushes. I still wonder if they disputed the charges or if the wife just thought the husband was calling 1-900 big tits at 2 a.m. Got a bloody nose. It was dark and I didn't know the house, so I stuck near the walls and went down the hallway and found the bathroom. Got the bleeding to stop, cleaned up, went back to sleep. In the morning, the mom came in frantic making sure everyone was alive after she saw smeared bloody handprints all the way down the hallway. Not a sleepover really. I mean, I guess you could call it that, but I was spending the night at my boyfriend's house, maybe 5 or so months into our relationship. I woke up maybe around 3 a.m. with what I assumed was a runny nose and my pillow was pretty wet, so I assumed I was drooling all over the place. Half asleep I wiped my face and immediately fully woke up in shock because the snot I wiped was really warm. Couldn't see a thing, so I sat up to go to the bathroom and right when I did, my nose just started pouring out warm liquid. Like it was literally just a waterfall of blood coming out of my nose. I immediately sprinted to the bathroom to get toilet paper, which woke my boyfriend up. I told him I had a nosebleed, so he went to turn on the lights just to make sure I was okay. The toilet paper soaked up fast, so I grabbed a hand towel. That soaked up fast, so I resorted to holding my head above the toilet to just let the blood spill out into it. As soon as my boyfriend turned the lights on, he saw the murder scene. That was a bed. Everything was just covered in blood. My clothes, my pillow, the sheets and blanket. Just blood everywhere. I was super lightheaded, but the bleeding eventually stopped and I was fine. We threw everything into the hamper and for some reason my boyfriend just left it by the washing machine. His mom rushed downstairs in the morning yelling and waking us up, asking if we were okay. LOL. We were both confused until we remembered I got possessed by Satan himself just hours before. I forgot to mention that I for some reason found this whole situation hilarious and my boyfriend had a panic attack when he came to check on me in the bathroom and see what I was laughing about, only to find me laughing my ass off with blood spilling out of and down my face into a bloody toilet. LOL. I definitely looked possessed. I don't remember what we were looking for, but me and another friend went through our buddy's parents' bedroom drawers and found a VHS tape. We were curious and idiotic, so we popped the tape in to see what was on it. Our buddy walked in while we were watching his parents have sex. His scream was the most shocking, horrifying thing I have heard to this day. Was at a sleepover. My buddy slept on his couch, I slept on his beanbag chair with a blanket. After hours of playing 007 GoldenEye, I get up and go use their restroom. Except I didn't. I only dreamed I did, and I pissed all over myself at like 4 a.m. I hid the blanket in their jacket closet, it was summertime, and threw the beanbag chair in my pussy underpants in their outdoors dumpster. They lived on a ranch. I was 14 at the time. LOL. In Boy Scouts, I was the morning cook, meaning I woke up before anyone else to chop wood, make fire, and get water boiling. I grab the hatchet and start splitting a log into little splinters for kindling. It was cold and dewy. The hatchet slipped from my hand mid-upward swing and went flying to the tent circle. It seriously flew 10-15 yard and fell straight down through the roof of a tent, where 4 scouts were sound asleep. I'm not sure how long I waited to hear someone start screaming. I probably sat there in terrified anticipation for over a minute. Then I was worried someone might be hurt, so I crawled over to that tent where the hatchet landed. I super quietly unzipped the flap and saw it landed in a bag of clothes very close to some kid's head. I snuck in, grabbed the hatchet, left the tent, zipped it back up, and finished breakfast. I heard them at breakfast complaining that the raccoons has ruined their perfectly nice tent by clawing a hole in it. Went down to Florida with a gay friend to visit a mutual female friend. We all slept in the same bed, and at some point during the night, they decided they wanted to see if they could have sex. Gay friend tried, but he couldn't get hard since he had no attraction to her. I laid there and stared at the ceiling thinking, this is kinda awkward. Wish I could sleep. I bathed my friend. 2 of us stayed at a friend's house in our early teens. We raided their parents' liquor cabinet and proceeded to not understand how alcohol works. We drank every kind of liquor under the sun. Very quickly, over the course of a few hours, we chased shots with popsicles and ate animal crackers to get the taste of gin out of our mouths. One of the 3 of us stood atop a small staircase into the living room, maybe 4 steps, a few feet in distance. He swayed, grabbed onto the railing, turned pale and then projectile vomited so violently that it all landed and splashed at the bottom of the staircase, leaving the steps clear, minus a few drops. He then immediately fell down the stairs and began to laugh in a pool of his own vomit. We picked him up, dragged him to the bathroom, stripped off all his clothes, and shoved him in the shower. He had thick curly hair that was filled with bright red popsicle colored animal cracker paste. I told him to put out his hands as he kept yelling to not tell everyone he had a small dick. Once he finally complied, I poured shampoo in his hands and told him to clean his hair. He slapped it all into his face, causing him to gag and his eyes to burn. At this point I had to get him cleaned up, so I did. We had no spare clothes for him barring our friend's brother's clothes. He was quite obese. We had to get a belt and tightly tie what I can only describe as parachute shorts around his waist. We went to sleep afterwards and convinced ourselves no one in the house heard us. If the story is believed to be untrue, the reason I remember it so well is because that friend shouting about his dick had a bigger dick than me, and you never forget finding out your dick is small. I peed on my friend's couch during a sleepover. I was 10, kinda old to pee the bed. I know. I woke up in a panic, of course, but discovered the couch cushions weren't sewed to the couch and they were identical on both sides. So I flipped that shit, changed into a spare pair of shorts, and went to sleep. A year later, while I was at that friend's house, his mom discovered my huge yellow piss stain on the bottom of a couch cushion. Of course she didn't suspect me. My friend's little sister took the heat. It was me, Mrs. Schofield. I pissed on your couch and let it soak for a year. Edit, holy shit, this got more attention than I anticipated. Edit 2, some have suggested that maybe she discovered the stain intentionally while I was there as a way to either call me out or give me a chance to admit it. Doubtful. I was over at this friend's house a lot, like at least 3 dozen times in between the day I peed on his couch and the day his mom discovered it. The only reason they found it was because they were rearranging living room furniture and were considering trashing the couch, and I happened to be visiting the same day. I had a sleepover at a friend's house, preteen boys, so we were stuffed in one little bed. I got a nosebleed, but slept through it for about an hour. I noticed eventually and got up to tend to it. My friend woke up while I was in the bathroom to what looked like a scene from a horror movie. I did not get a second sleepover. One of my buddies in high school would bully me all the time and he treated me like shit when I was staying over his house with other friends. One time he told me to go get him a glass of water, so I went upstairs, poured him a glass of water, dipped my nuts in it for a few seconds, then gave it to him. Played with matches. 4 years afterward, thought I burned my aunt and uncle's house down. I was staying with them. My cousin and I were lighting matches in the kitchen and throwing them in the sink to put them out. The head of one flew off and landed in the shelving unit by the sink. Still smoking, but when we looked for it, we couldn't find it. It was the 80s, so all those kids "Don't play with matches" ads were everywhere. Hours later we were awakened by my aunt telling us to get out of the house because it was on fire. Watched their house burn to the ground and was terrified to tell them what we'd been doing earlier. I just knew we'd done it. Carried that guilt for years. When I was around 15ish, which was many years later, I finally told my aunt. She started laughing, and after realizing I'd been thinking this the whole time, hugged me and explained it had been wiring in the back bedroom. I was an adult before I finally understood, after learning about how fire marshals investigate fires, that it wasn't just an assumption they'd made and could let go of that guilt. So I guess, technically, the most screwed up thing I did on a sleepover was traumatize myself for years. Was probably in like 6th grade maybe. Buddy of mine had a birthday sleepover. Had a super cool basement with pool and GameCube and a mini fridge. Dope parents who bought us pizza and all that. It was about like 15 of us spending the night. At some point around like 2 AM someone wanted to play Mario Kart and all you heard was a big crash and suddenly a very faint I think I just spilled orange soda on the GameCube. Cue a faint BZZT sound and yeah. GameCube was ducked. Buddy's parents were not happy. Pretty sure that was the last big sleepover like that. When I was a stupid kid I got invited for a sleepover. It was a few of us. We would be going paintballing the next day through generosity of the host's parents. Now I knew most of them from my school, but was really only good friends with one. He had suggested they invite me as he knows I like to paintball. In the night time, when we were all in the living room, being loud dumb kids, I stupidly said the host name was probably upstairs ducking his mom. Everyone bust out into laughter. Well, I said it loud enough that they heard upstairs as well. His mom wasn't very happy. The next day it was brought up they completely blamed the wrong person. I never said a word about how it was me. That was maybe 10 or 11 years ago. I still think about it lol. It was so rude, unnecessary. I wish someone had ousted me, but you live you learn. Got hammered at the bar and slept over at this couple's house. I never got the tour so didn't know where the bathroom was. I woke up having to puke and shit. I alternated but I got shit and puke everywhere. They didn't have toilet paper, so I used a bag of cotton balls, which wouldn't flush. So I put all the wet cotton balls back in the original bag with my shit covered underwear and threw the bag away in their kitchen trash can. Their dog was watching me the entire time. I left before they got up and never spoke to them again. Edit. Wow. Thank you all for the love. I'm glad my adventure could bring you joy. Watched Scarface at 12 years old and snorted sugar. Edit. Wow, it's funny so many other kids snorted stupid stuff. Me and my friends dared each to snort all kinds of stuff. Someone else mentioned pixie sticks. Yep. Also Taco Bell hot sauce. And those little packets of lime or chili salt at the checkout at gas stations for beer. That used to be a nickel each. Yep. We snorted those. I got my first period at a sleepover. And lucky for me the first year of periods came with wicked vomiting and diarrhea. So in the middle of the night, right after everyone fell asleep, I destroyed my friend's bathroom with a volcanic amount of diarrhea. Then, on my way back to the living room, where 5 preteen girls were crammed, I proceeded to vomit directly between 2 girls sleeping. I had to ask the mom for help with cleaning up the mess. This is not the weirdest thing, but something that has always stuck out to me. Had a girl tell me that she knew someone who masturbated by holding themselves up at the top of a door and basically doing pull-ups against the door to get off. She even demonstrated it for me. Then she took a very long shower with a detachable shower head. She came out silent and out of it for a bit. It didn't occur to me until a few years later that she had the most defined arms out of anyone I knew at the time who was our age. I remember thinking that was weird since she played soccer, but her upper body was ripped. Also, no one would make that up and say it was their friend because it was so strange. And she was way too good at it. I tried after her thinking, sweet, a new way to get off, but I could only raise my body a few times. Anyways, girl got off from the corner of her closet door by doing pull-ups. We found Kraft singles in the fridge and put one over the nose and mouth of a friend of ours who fell asleep on the couch before everyone else. It immediately softened and molded into a cheesy seal over his face, and he stopped breathing. We all freaked out for a solid 10 seconds, very quietly, until we heard him make a chewing sound. Methodica smelled cheese and took immediate action despite being unable to breathe, and just straight up ate a mouth-sized hole into the single unconsciously. We then proceeded to plaster the entire package onto his face one at a time and watch him hoover up the cheese slices in order to not die. Big sleepover for my birthday. Some dude wanted to make a vile concoction of stuff from our kitchen to pour on the first one to fall asleep. He fell asleep fist. I poured it on him, so it looked like he peed. He woke up and freaked out. I gave him spare shorts, and we washed his. I still feel bad about it, but he kinda had it coming. My friend and I were 11 or 12. His sister was about 14. She announced that she'd never seen a dick in person before and wanted to. Basically, it was a show me yours and I'll show you mine thing. Except it was directed at me and my friend. Which makes sense, I guess. If she'd never seen one before, why not try to look at two at once? Ground rules were set. You can look for as long as you want, or as close as you want, but no touching. I'd never seen a vag in person before, so I was up for it. My friend was apparently curious enough to scope out his own GD sister, so we all showed each other our junk. After it was over, we never did that again. Never spoke of it again or anything else. So, I have a history of sleep talking walking issues, and they are especially heightened when I'm stressed. I don't like being away from home, so sleepovers are a recipe for disaster for me. Lo and behold, I woke up one morning after my first sleepover to the horrifying news from my friend that I started sleepwalking, yelled karate chop over and over, and proceeded to ruthlessly swing my arms into my friend's stomach, effectively waking her up out of dead sleep. We were 8. This was the first time I slept over her house, and I had never told her about my sleepwalking problems. She still makes fun of me about it to this day. Was like 12, and we were on a trampoline flashing people driving by. We thought we were sexy shit. At 12. Surprised we didn't get kidnapped by a predator. Edit. Dang, this blew up. So more details about the night. We crank called people telling them their order of like 1000 dildos was ready or something amazingly stupid like that. We blocked our return ID, but the one time we didn't, a guy called back a few moments later absolutely furious, telling us he hadn't ordered those and demanding who we were. We slept on that same trampoline with some pillows and blankets and had some late night confessions. Me and 2 other girls. They'd both been sad already. At 12 I don't remember details and I wouldn't tell them anyway. I hadn't, and I felt so bad for them. Wondered how the world was like that already. Also scared for myself. Pretty sure I pissed myself laughing like twice. It was truly a carefree day despite the horrendous decisions we were making with the flashing and crank calls, laughing my freaking butt off. They were good friends. I hope they are doing well. I didn't do this. My friend did this to me. We were probably both around the age of 10. We were inseparable. If he wasn't sleeping over at my house, I was sleeping over at his. One night we were in his bedroom looking for anything to do besides sleep, and we both decided it would be fun to chuck things at each other in the dark. We did this until we ran out of things to throw at each other, and then we would turn on the lights and survey what was thrown, and for any signs of damage. Not an inch from my head, stuck solidly into the wall behind where I was sitting, was a protractor. My friend was more concerned with the damage to the wall than how close he came to hitting me with it. I remember this fondly, many decades later. Oof. This is actually a pretty rough memory for me. I was at a friend's birthday party in middle school one year. The parents' tools us to dinner at Hooters, and afterwards we were killing some time running around playing tag in the parking lot. At one point, I'm tagged it and proceed to chase after the birthday boy. In the process, I accidentally got a little excited and pushed him in my attempt to tag him. I broke the kid's arm. On his birthday, he missed out on the first 3 hours of the sleepover due to being stuck at the emergency room. His dad had us all go upstairs and play Halo to kill time. Needless to say, I was not very popular at that sleepover. When I was in high school, I was at a sleepover with a couple friends in one of their basements, and we took turns with 2 of us in the basement bed dry humping each other, and the third coming in like a wife discovering her husband cheating. At the time we all thought it was a hilarious roleplay, but now when I look back at it, I have so many questions. I had my 2 best friends sleeping over at my house and we fell asleep in my living room. I woke up in the middle of the night to find one of my friends wasn't sleeping, and I could see the bathroom light was off, so I knew she wasn't in there. I thought maybe she went to go sleep in my room, but then I heard her giggling and my brother laughing coming from the computer room. We were all over the age of 18 plus. I pretended to be asleep as they walked out of the computer room, and she laid back down and went to sleep. I never said anything to either of them, but they dated for a few months until she cheated on him. Had to pretend to be asleep at the junior prom sleepover while the host F and her BF had sex in the middle of the living room. It was myself, F, and one other girl on the couch sleeping, while A got it on. The F involved later told me she needed Plan B from that night. We stopped being friends shortly after that evening. Slept over at a guy's house for the first time, and I woke up in the middle of the night struggling to breathe due to an asthma attack. I went to use my inhaler, and it was empty, and I was too anxious to wake him up and be a burden, so I kind of just lay down on the floor in the fetal position trying to breathe properly and not cry. He woke up and saw me there and was just like, "What the duck, dude?" I explained, and it turned out his mum was also an asthmatic and had lots of inhalers, so they let me have one. Looking back on it now, I cannot believe I basically chose death over inconveniencing someone. No anxiety. Was at a buddy's house in middle school. There was 4 of us, and we were all boys. Middle school boys are the most immature twats on the planet, so naturally one of my friends forcefully rips my shirt off, then my pants, then my underwear. We were in the basement and there was a bathroom right by the stairs, so I had to hide in there completely naked. Fun times. Click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.